Today, we are talking about something truly amazing. Natural language processing. It's the whole story of how we've been teaching computers to understand us, to understand our language. Not code, but the way we actually talk.
And you might not even realize it, but you use this stuff every single day. I mean, think about it. Every time you dictate a text, or ask your smart speaker about the weather, or, my favorite, use an app to translate a menu in a foreign country, that's all NLP. It's the magic happening behind the curtain, and its story started a long, long time ago.
So, what is it exactly? Well, at its heart, natural language processing is the part of AI that's all about bridging that huge gap between how we communicate and how computers, well, compute. It's about giving them the power to work with our language, the messy, nuanced, beautiful, and sometimes illogical way we all speak and write.
To really get a handle on it, you've got to see how it evolved. And the whole story really breaks down into three big acts. First, you have the early days, the age of rules, where everything was coded by hand. Then came the Statistical Revolution, when machines suddenly started learning from huge amounts of data. And that brings us to today, the deep learning era, where AI is starting to actually understand meaning and context. So let's start at the beginning, in an age of giant computers and even bigger dreams.
Okay, so we're starting in the 1950s, in what we call the age of rules. And the approach back then, it was kind of like trying to teach a computer a language by just giving it a massive, perfectly written phrase book. The idea was, hey, if we can just write down enough grammar rules and a big enough dictionary, a machine should be able to understand anything, right?
And honestly, they had some impressive early successes. Take the Georgetown experiment back in 1954. It translated a bunch of Russian sentences, and people got so excited they thought fully automatic translation was just a couple of years away. But there was a problem. These systems were incredibly brittle. And by brittle, I mean they broke, easily. If you used a word that wasn't in their dictionary or, phrased a sentence just a little bit differently, the whole thing just fell apart. They were completely lost.
The key thing to remember about this whole era is that it was all based on logic that was painstakingly hand-coded by humans. This is basically the idea behind that famous Chinese room thought experiment. You could lock someone who doesn't speak Chinese in a room with a giant rulebook, and sure, they could take Chinese characters coming in and spit out the right characters going out just by following the rules. But do they actually understand Chinese? Of course not, and that was the problem. The machine was just matching symbols, not understanding a thing.
And that limitation, right there, was the major turning point in our story. This old symbolic way of doing things was just too stiff, too rigid. It had no idea what to do with typos or new slang words or all the million little ways we break our own grammar rules every single day. The field needed a totally new way of thinking. It needed to shift from trying to write all the rules to just learning from the patterns. And that brings us to our second act, the Statistical Revolution. So now, the computer isn't a strict grammarian with a rulebook anymore. Instead, it becomes a kind of data detective, just digging through mountains of text to find patterns and calculate probabilities. This quote pretty much nails it. The late 80s saw a complete paradigm shift, a total revolution. Computers were getting more powerful, and the goal wasn't about achieving perfection through rules anymore. It was all about finding what's probable, what's likely, based on real-world data. But you might be wondering, okay, so where did they get all this data? Well, the answer is kind of funny. It's Canadian. One of the first huge breakthroughs came from using the official records of the Canadian Parliament, because they legally have to publish everything in both English and French. So suddenly, researchers had this massive, perfect, side-by-side text. And for the first time, a machine could just learn that the French word maison probably means house, because they show up in the same documents like 99% of the time. No grammar rule needed, just pure, powerful statistics. Which leads us right up to the present day. Part 3, the deep learning era. The analogy here shifts one more time. We've gone from a rule follower to a data detective, and now it's more like we're trying to build an artificial brain, something that can learn language in a much more abstract way.
Seriously, around 2015, everything changed. Again. Deep learning and these things called neural networks just completely took over. And this was another giant leap. Because these new models weren't just counting words anymore, they were actually starting to learn the meaning behind them, the semantic relationships between ideas.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really cool. One of the core ideas here is something called word embeddings. The basic idea is to turn every single word into a set of numbers, a vector, and place it on this huge multidimensional map.
By looking at billions of sentences, the model learns that words used in similar ways, like king and queen, should be neighbors on this map. It gets so good, it can literally do math with concepts. It can figure out that the relationship, the vector from man to woman, is almost exactly the same as the vector from king to queen. The machine is learning through analogy. It's just mind-blowing.
And the impact of this was just enormous. Before, you had these super complicated systems, like an assembly line with a dozen different steps. Now, you could have one big, powerful neural network that did the whole job from end to end. And this radical simplification led to these massive jumps in performance. And that is why your translation app suddenly got so much better a few years back. It's why your voice assistant actually understands what you want, most of the time.
And that huge improvement isn't just happening in translation. This whole historical journey has woven NLP so deeply into our lives, we often don't even see it. The answer to where is NLP is, well, it's pretty much everywhere. I mean, you've got the obvious ones, like we said, translation and speech recognition. But then there's sentiment analysis. That's how companies scan social media to see if people love or hate their new product. Or automatic summarization, when your browser gives you the gist of a long article in 2 sentences. The grammar checker that saves you from embarrassing typos? Yep, that's NLP. The search engine that just answers your question directly instead of giving you 10 blue links? You guessed it, NLP again.
Let's just peek under the hood of one of those, say, sentiment analysis. It's actually a pretty simple idea. First, the system takes a sentence and just chops it up into individual words or pieces, which it calls tokens. Then, the model looks at those tokens and analyzes the emotional flavor of those words, especially in the context of the whole sentence. And finally, it basically adds it all up and classifies the text as either positive, negative, or just neutral. A really simple process with unbelievably powerful uses.
So, we've seen where NLP came from, and we see it all around us now. But where is all of this going? What's next? Well, the ultimate goal, the thing everyone's been chasing from the very beginning, is to move beyond just processing words and towards something that actually feels like true understanding.
So right now, researchers are pushing into these really tough, abstract areas to trying to teach AI things like sarcasm, which, let's be real, is hard enough for humans, or how to follow a really complex logical argument. There's also this huge effort to make all these amazing tools work for hundreds of languages, not just English. And the big dream is to build systems that need less handholding, that can learn more like a person does, just by listening and reading.
And this quote really brings it all home. We're moving way beyond just building better tools. At the end of the day, we're really using language to try and figure out the very nature of what intelligence even is.
So the next time you ask your phone for directions, just take a second to remember the incredible journey it took to get here. From those rigid handwritten rule books, to the clever data detectives, all the way to these new artificial brains that are actually starting to get it. And it leaves us with this one massive question. As machines get more and more fluent in this thing that makes us human, our language, how will we choose to talk to them? And how will that change us?